Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Wes Jackson. I'm the director of the Business of Creative Enterprise program, and I want to welcome you to the first annual Future of the Creative Industry Conference. We're super excited to bring this to you.
I'm really delighted to welcome Bobbi Brown. Her brand has spoken to issues of diversity and representation long before others even realized how crucial these areas were. She's one of our renowned Emersonians. She's a trailblazer, really in the field of natural beauty.
My advice is figure out how you could do it scrappy. Be scrappy. I am still scrappy. The good thing about being a woman is we could do a million things at once. So maybe it's your side hustle. Don't quit your job if you can't afford it. And figure out how you could show people the product and get their opinion on it.
If I can almost get into your head, but that leadership, how did you develop that?
Well, I only know one thing, and that's to be myself and to be authentic. And so I didn't realize that those personality traits really help you, get along. And during the Obama years, I was really lucky. I did Dr. Jill Biden's makeup for both inaugurations. I actually was in the motorcade because I had to be there. I was with this group of people in this motorcade, touched up the vice president, touched up Dr. Biden. And I'm in this motorcade, Bobbi Brown, makeup artist from Emerson. And I look around, I don't know who's in my car. This one guy says to me, "Excuse me, who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm Jill Biden's makeup artist." And I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm your Secretary of Defense."
This is such a competitive industry. But when you start thinking more on a collaborative way, and when you start thinking of like, wait, I need to believe a little bit more in myself and stay true to who I am. And instead of looking at her and what she has and her success, get inspired by that to make my own.
I got a lot more involved with women in sports tech, specifically related to, racial disparities and thinking about, well, what do I do in my life that could have an impact? How could I make some meaning of my work in all of this?
I think that knowing who you are is a big part of your brand. And what that means, your value system, that means what you believe in, what you really care about. And no judgment, we might all feel differently, but just be true to you and what you really believe in.
So I worked with women in sports tech with the group there, and we co-founded an initiative called Women in Sports Tech Next Gen to introduce and expose and mentor girls in middle and high school, making sure that this gets out to these underserved communities so everybody's exposed to these really exciting careers.
Tell us a little bit more, because you talked about starting out as something completely different than where you are now.
Usually in fashion, you get connected. You have network connections, you have a last name, that actually in fashion helps so much. I was Carmela Osorio Lugo from Caracas, Venezuela, from parents of Apure, which is like a little town, like farm town that no one knows in Venezuela. But I knew I had a goal. If I got this opportunity, well, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna do the best I can out of it.
All of you creatives, there are no rules. If ever before, there were, which there weren't for me, today proves there are no rules. You can write your own book and you can do things the way you want to do them.
Talking about cultural shifts in general and that they're not always obvious and specific. So what I like to do to find them is to read everything I can about, what's happening in business and how's that shifting? What's happening in health and wellness and how is that shifting?
When Spotify first started, it was really a tech company that did music. And when I got to Spotify 4 years ago, I was part of the influx of entertainment and music and culture into the DNA of the company.
So I was wondering if you could kind of talk about how the pathway of doing album covers somehow led you to being, an award-winning filmmaker now.
He said, "Listen, man, we need some new, fresh ideas. Would you be interested in redesigning the Rap City logo?" You had someone that never had a job before that was surrounded by equipment and ways to broadcast things. So I took it upon myself to learn the print design world, and then from that, I was always going into the edit rooms on my own. I used to stay there till like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, sometimes overnight, and I would finish up their jobs just so I could learn the equipment.
The first money I made in New York City was as a DJ for Giant Step. What struck me about Giant Step was it was right at that nexus where jazz and hip hop and like music and hip hop and lyrics and instruments were starting to converge.
And then from that, I used to go into the camera rooms. I said, let me see the cameras you guys are using. And I was watching them, produce shows, and I bought my own cameras. Long story short, we had an idea, my friends and I, to create a documentary on Illmatic, the 10-year anniversary at that point of Nas's groundbreaking album.
And for me, that was everything. It was still maintaining a balance. How do I get up, at 6:30 and make it out to Brooklyn so I can read these scripts? And then how do I get home and eat some food and then go and be up in a club or a lounge or a bar from 9 to 2 or 3 and, get my little scratch and then go home and get a couple hours of sleep.
Someone gave me a chance because they saw I was so hungry and so determined and so focused to make something. So as an example, our DP for the Nas film was just a camera operator. He's never shot a feature film before, but we wanted to give him that chance.
Of course, we hoped it would be a hit. We didn't know going into it. But at that point, I ultimately had to decide, if I'm gonna do this right and really give this a shot, I need to let go of the business side of this part of my career here and just be talent and be all in on this.
As we've listened, to Bobby Brown and Antoine and Xavier and Barry Cole and 19 and Carmela, April, Stephanie, and others, we should maybe challenge ourselves to consider not merely what the future will bring, but what we're going to bring to the future. And if you can't stop thinking about it, then do not stop working towards it.